The keys dropped right out of my hand in the hallway when I saw Heather buttoning up his shirt in our bedroom. Heather and I have been friends since school, back when we used to swap notebooks and split one sandwich at lunch because one of us always forgot to pack food. Over the years, she became more than just a friend, almost a sister. The one person I told everything, even things I couldn't bring myself to tell my own mom. She knew how I cried at prom when my first boyfriend never showed up, knew every detail of my pregnancy, every fear, every middle-of-the-night meltdown from lack of sleep with the baby. She showed up with soup when I was sick, sat with me at the hospital when they operated on my mom, and I always figured if there was one person in this world I trusted without question, it was her. Heather's the one who introduced me to Mark 12 years ago, brought him to my birthday party, said he was a co-worker and seemed interesting. We ended up talking all night in the kitchen while everyone else danced in the living room, and Heather, I remember, drifted off to talk to other people pretty fast, like she'd deliberately given us some space. I thanked her for that introduction more times than I can count over the years, told her she changed my life for the better by bringing Mark into it. She always laughed it off, said she just had a feeling we'd click, that she was glad to be such a good matchmaker. Though there was always something underneath that laugh, I realize now, some barely noticeable note I never bothered trying to figure out. Heather became our older daughter's godmother, showed up to every celebration, watched the kids whenever Mark and I had to travel, brought them gifts for no reason at all, just because she saw something she thought they'd like. She knew more about our marriage than anyone, knew every fight, every rough patch, every doubt I ever shared with her over a glass of wine at our kitchen table late at night, after Mark had already gone to bed. I remember 2 years ago when Mark and I were going through a real rough patch. I cried on Heather's shoulder, not my mom's, not my sister's. She listened for a long time, rubbed my back, told me not to give up, that a man like Mark was worth fighting for, that she could see how much he loved me even when we'd stopped noticing it ourselves. I took her advice back then, stayed, started putting more effort into us, and things got better. We even got closer than we'd been before. Now, standing in the hallway with cupcakes scattered on the floor, I thought about that conversation completely differently. Maybe she just didn't want me leaving too soon, before her own plan was ready. I got let off work early that day because the meeting I'd been prepping for all week got canceled out of nowhere when the director got sick. I decided to surprise everyone, picked up cupcakes on the way home, the kind my younger daughter loves, thought I'd spend a little more time than usual with Mark and the kids, make the evening a bit special for no particular reason. I let myself in with my own key, quietly, on purpose, wanting to surprise them all at once. The apartment was silent, and at first I figured nobody was home, until I heard voices coming from the bedroom, muffled, hushed, and I didn't immediately understand why my heart suddenly started racing before my brain even caught up with why. The bedroom door was cracked open, and I saw them both, saw Heather buttoning up his shirt with the kind of motion that only happens between people who've done it countless times before, a sure, familiar, almost automatic motion. The cupcakes fell out of my hands along with the keys, the box popped open on the floor, and that sound is what made them both spin around toward me. Mark went pale instantly, like the color just drained straight out of his face in 1 second, while Heather, on the other hand, didn't look nearly as scared as someone who'd just been caught red-handed should. There was something in her eyes for a moment that looked almost like relief, like she'd been waiting a long time for this exact moment, and was even a little tired of the waiting itself, of having to keep hiding. "Jessica, I can explain," Mark said, taking a step toward me, reaching his hand out like he wanted to touch my shoulder. But I put my palm up, stopping him right there, unable to get a single word out in response. Heather stayed quiet, just stood there looking at me, and there was something in that silence I couldn't fully make sense of yet. Not guilt, not shame, something else, heavier, deeper. Like she was bracing herself inside to tell me something that was going to break this picture of my life apart even more than it already was. Right there in that hallway, cupcakes everywhere. "Jess, I have to tell you something, and it's better you hear it from me than figure it out on your own later." Heather started, and her voice sounded strangely, level, like she'd rehearsed these words for years, waiting for the right moment. She told me she'd fallen for Mark back then. 12 years ago, before she'd even brought him to my birthday party. That they'd met at work a few months before that night, and that she'd already felt something for him then that she couldn't bring herself to name, not even to herself. I stood there listening, not believing this whole story was even possible, that the person I considered closest to me in my entire life was confessing this to me so coldly, almost point by point. She kept going, said that back then, 12 years ago, she decided to step back because she saw how quickly Mark and I hit it off and didn't want to ruin what looked to her like it could become real happiness for me. I told myself back then it was better for you to be happy than me, she said, and for a second something like tears showed up in her eyes, though her voice stayed steady. But the years went by, and that feeling, according to her, never went anywhere, just took deeper root while she watched me build a family with the man she'd once wanted for herself. I asked when it actually started between them, when it stopped being just a feeling and turned into something real. She said about a year ago, when Mark and I had actually turned to her for advice during that exact same rough patch I'd just been thinking about, and that's when, spending more time with him while I was busy trying to work through my own doubts, she realized she couldn't hold back anymore. Mark stayed silent through all of this, standing by the window, not daring to come toward me or contradict a single word of Heather's story. I asked him straight out if he'd known about her feelings all these years, if this was as much a shock to him as it was to me. He was quiet for a long time, then quietly admitted he'd suspected it, right from the start, from the very first day she brought him to my birthday party, and pulled back so fast. Said he never let himself think about it seriously until last year, when she finally brought it up with him herself. I stood there listening to both of them, and something was building inside me that was hard to call just pain. It was deeper than that, almost a physical sensation of betrayal coming from every direction at once. My husband's betrayal and my best friend's betrayal. A betrayal that turned out not to be some impulsive mistake, but a plan she'd been carrying for years. Every memory of our friendship, every piece of advice she'd ever given me, every glass of wine at our kitchen table now felt like part of some long, calculated game. I remembered that time at my sister's wedding 3 years back when Heather danced with Mark twice in a row, then joked she just wanted to give me a break from dancing because of my bad knee. At the time, it seemed like the ordinary kindness of someone close to me, and now every little detail like that took on a completely different color, like I was re-watching the whole movie of my life over again, except this time with subtitles explaining what was actually happening off camera. "You told me to fight for him 2 years ago," I finally said, looking at Heather. "You sat with me, listened to me cry, and told me to hold on to a marriage you already wanted to take my place in." She didn't deny it, just lowered her eyes, and that silence told me more than any explanation could have. Mark made one more attempt to come closer, mumbled something about loving me, about how it all just got complicated, about not knowing how it got this far. "I don't care how it got this far," I answered. "All I care about is how much longer the two of you were planning to look me in the eye and lie before I caught you myself." I grabbed my bag, which I hadn't even gotten a chance to put down, turned around and walked out of the apartment, leaving the two of them standing there among the scattered cupcakes on the hallway floor. The weeks after that passed in a blur. I took the kids to my parents, started the divorce process, hired a lawyer who specialized in exactly this kind of case. Mark tried reaching me dozens of times, sent long texts about how he was ready to fix everything, how he just needed one chance. I never answered a single one, because I understood by then this had stopped being about whether I could forgive the affair itself. Heather tried texting too, justifying herself at first, then just asking to talk, for a chance to explain everything again in more detail. I blocked her number that same night I walked out of the apartment, and never once regretted it. The divorce went through in a few months. We split things up without much fighting, since Mark seemed to feel guilty enough that he didn't dare argue over anything. The hardest part was explaining it to the kids. Our older daughter, whose godmother was Heather, couldn't understand for a long time why Aunt Heather stopped coming around and why Mom wouldn't even let her name be mentioned in the house. It took me a while to find the right words, trying not to load a kid down with the full weight of adult pain, and eventually I just told her that sometimes the people we trust the most do things that break that trust forever, and that it wasn't her fault, it was the fault of the adults who couldn't stay honest. My daughter cried that night, and I cried right along with her, holding her tight, understanding that this loss was real for her too, even if she couldn't fully grasp the reasons behind it yet. The kids stayed living with me, see their dad on a schedule we worked out through lawyers, calm and without much drama, as much as that's even possible in a situation like this. I never saw Heather in person again, except once by chance at the grocery store a few months later. She saw me first, froze in place, like she didn't know whether to walk over or run, and eventually just stood there, waiting for my reaction. I walked over to her myself, calm, set my basket down on the floor between us, and just looked at her for a few seconds. This woman who used to know me better than anyone, now standing in front of me almost like a stranger. She tried to say something, opened her mouth like she was gearing up for another explanation, but I didn't give her the chance. I said one sentence, one I'd thought through a long time in advance, in case this meeting ever happened. "You didn't just take my husband, Heather. You took the last person I trusted without question. And that's exactly why I'll never forgive you, even if I forgive him one day." She didn't say anything back, just watched me turn around and walk to the checkout with my basket, leaving her standing there among the cereal aisles alone with what she'd done.